Hey everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Status Checks with Chaplain Pat. Just a quick short video with no budget, no editing, and definitely low tech to give you some tools and some tips to help manage your sanity, especially as a first responder. I want to talk to you about our emotional system and kind of give you a quick basic rundown or understanding of how that emotional system works and how it impacts us. We have the experience that happens or takes place that we either hear or see, touch, taste, smell, right, through our senses, which then is translated through our perceptions of what we perceive that particular event to be, how it's taking place. It then runs into our emotions, which assign to the memories and the experiences that are in our head, the thoughts, and it assigns it into feelings, creates feelings. And it's through those feelings or because of those feelings that we react or respond to what's going on. As first responders, we are literally immersed in society's trauma. We're inundated with trauma on a regular basis. Our whole world, our whole job is specifically built around dealing with traumatic circumstances. When somebody calls 911, they're doing so because in their world, something traumatic has taken place. And then we show up on that scene and we mitigate or deal with the circumstances and the situations that's going on. And so we're constantly immersed throughout our whole entire career in trauma. And over time, that trauma begins to fill that emotional system, and we start experiencing what we call the cumulative effects of traumatic stress. Sometimes when responding out to a scene or a situation that's particularly extremely intense, stressful, sad, horrific, unjust, we're experiencing the impacts of what we call acute traumatic stress. So our emotional system is overwhelmed in the moment because of the situation, circumstances that is taking place. So when you have this experience, right, and then you have the perception of that experience, and the perception of that experience is, oh my God, this is really bad. The super intense or horrific circumstances. We go into what we call work mode, where we're not responding to that emotional scene at that point in time. What we're doing is we've reverted into our training, and we're doing what we've been trained to do with really kind of no thought, right? And it's a reaction response as we're getting it done, and we're not even having to think about what it is that we're doing, and we're in the moment, and we're plugged in and experiencing all that's happening around us and getting it done. And it's like, that if you give in to the intensity of the circumstances or the sadness or the grief or the horrificness of us, that we would freeze up, we would shut down, we wouldn't be able to accomplish the task of which we were there to do in order to do our job. So we suppress the emotional experience and don't connect ourselves with what's happening on that emotional level so that we can actually get the job done that we're supposed to do. We ignore, override, and push forward so that we can get that job done. And then, when the situation is over, or the intense part of that circumstance is over, that emotional piece of the emotional system kicks in, right? Of the assignment of emotions kicks back into gear, and the feelings are then assigned to that emotional experience, and we feel overwhelmed. We feel a deep sense of sadness or helplessness or emptiness or even horror at what it was that we experienced or saw. So now you find yourself, right, sitting in your car, back in the fire truck or back at the fire station, sitting back in the chair in front of your console, your dispatch console, and you're just trying to catch your breath, trying to, the whole intensity of the experience is starting to dump. It's like the reality of what you just experienced is coming crashing down. And for a lot of us, our default setting for this type of reaction is avoidance. We just do everything we can to avoid having these feelings so that we don't have to deal with it. We just keep it suppressed and keep moving forward. Sometimes, though, these feelings are unavoidable. It was just that bad of a circumstance or situation. And to be honest with you, avoidance isn't the most healthiest way of dealing with this kind of stuff anyways, right? It's in that moment. that we need to harness the power of our brain and take control of that thought process. The truth is our mind is a crazy powerful tool that we have right at our disposal, and the key is to direct that power for good, not for evil, right? We spend a tremendous amount of our brain power trying to either avoid the impacts of this traumatic stress, or we start buying into thought distortions that I'm not strong enough. I'm feeling this way because I'm not able to handle the things that I saw, or I'm not good enough, or I didn't do a good enough job. And because we're so job performance orientated, we actually become our own worst critic. Let me ask you something. If I can be my own worst critic, is it possible that maybe I can be my own best cheerleader? Can I harness the power of my brain for positive self-affirmations instead of believing some of the thought distortions that we tell ourselves so often when we're criticizing our actions and reactions to the circumstance or situation? A positive self-affirmation is what you tell yourself about yourself as if you're your own best cheerleader. Sound crazy? Silly? Maybe even? Yeah, it really kind of does. But the truth is, there's scientific study out there that tells us that the power of positive self-affirmation is anything but silly. People who put into practice the power of positive self-affirmation are going to perform better. They're going to feel more confident. They're going to neutralize feelings of doubt. They're going to make fewer mistakes, and they're going to have a lower error-related negativity. In other words, when you do make a mistake, you're going to have a lower chance of beating yourself up as bad as you normally would. I mean, just imagine. Instead of sitting there criticizing yourself for not being strong enough or not being good enough, that you actually look at the situation and the circumstances for what they are, right? This is what we call realism. This was bad. This circumstance, this situation was unjust. It was horrific. It was sad. It was just terrible. But as you look at what you did through that experience, you can tell yourself, I did a good job. I did the job I was supposed to do. I did the best job I possibly could do with the tools and the training and everything that I have, and I gave myself 100% to that. I might not like the outcome of the circumstances, but my presence being there made a difference in the lives of the people that were involved, and I made a difference. I can be horrified by the things that I see in this job, and the things that we hear and the experience. We can be truly horrified by these things. Or I can be honored. I got to be the guy to be there. I got to be the one to be in that place at that time to help that person or help that family. What an honor to stand in the gap between justice and injustice. What an honor to be able to get down beside somebody and help them through whatever emergency that's happening, and then provide the care and comfort, compassion through the tools and the training that we have. That's an honor to be able to do that. Studies also tell us that choosing positive self-thoughts have a direct impact upon our nervous system, your day-to-day experiences, the choices that you make, the interactions that you have with other people, and your outlook on life. So listen, no effort goes wasted, right? Positive or negative. So the next time you find yourself sitting there trying to process through the horrificness of the circumstances, figuring out that being overwhelmed by that emotional experience caused by the traumaticness of the situation, take control of the thought process that you're having at that point in time. Be your own best cheerleader. Step back and look and see the job that you actually did was the best job that possibly could have been done. This is not natural. It takes a conscious effort, and it will make a difference on how you mitigate the effects of the acute traumatic stress that's happening in that moment. You are good at what you do. You are the best of the best, and you do make a difference in the lives of people. All the interactions that you have and the people that you come in contact with, you do make situations better. So thanks for listening. I appreciate the time, and I will see you at the next Status Checks with Chaplain Pat.